So on today's Crowley Connect, we have a guest who's at the head of one of the largest and one of the most important departments that we have in Milwaukee County. Now, we often talk about achieving a vision of becoming the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin, and the work and the initiatives that are being driven by this county leader is instrumental to accomplishing just that goal of reaching racial equity. So I'm honored to welcome Shakita LaGrant-McClain, the Executive Director of the Milwaukee County Department of Health and Human Services. Welcome, Shakita.
Good
How are
morning,
you
County
doing?
Executive. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know what? I'm gonna make sure that I say Director LaGrant-McClain as we move forward. So I apologize.
Oh, no
Um,
worries.
so Director LaGrant-McClain, having been born and raised in Milwaukee, I personally understand how the decades of generational trauma and neglect have really manifested in poverty and homelessness and housing insecurity, or whether we talk of mental health issues or the lack of healthcare access. And there's other, adverse outcomes that we could speak of. But can you really talk about Milwaukee County and specifically the Department of Health and Human Services, how you're advancing both racial and health equity goals for our Milwaukee County residents?
Absolutely. So, Department of Health and Human Services, we have been participating in system change initiatives that really look to tackle institutional racism externally. And so we are looking towards partnerships with all of our county departments that address systemic racism more powerfully together. We believe in together we create healthier communities, right? And so racial and health equity are embedded in every aspect of our work. We don't want a separate, we always talk about this, not having this separate racial equity policy, but instead we want the culture of Department of Health and Human Services as well as Milwaukee County to reflect that we are embedding the racial and health equity in our policies and our hiring processes, the way that we communicate, and especially the way that we treat people. I think that is so important. And so our other goal is really to be an employer of choice, right? And for people to say that they want to come work here because we are about treating the people that work here as well as the people that we serve with dignity and respect. And so we've been doing a lot of work around racial and health equity, and we talk about embedding it in the initiatives that we do. So we have our new COGS Health and Human Services Center, and that really is looking at how do we create easier access for services for all of the residents that we serve, right? Regardless of where they come from, social economic status. We want to make sure that we're treating them with dignity and respect. So when they walk in, they're going to feel like, wow, right? This is amazing. This is where I belong. This is where I can get help and get my needs met. And then we also have our behavioral health redesign and the opening of the access clinics across the community. And so that really is focused on bringing mental health, which is really, I know, really close to your heart, and substance use disorder services into the neighborhoods with the greatest needs, right? So meeting people where they are. And then we also have our CERC project, which we are looking at keeping our youth closer to home and in our care. So there's been a lot of work there. And then we have a number of ARPA projects where we are bringing the work that we do to improve when we talk about social determinants of health. So a lot of the housing initiatives and bringing that work to scale and really building on Department of Health and Human Services capacity. So there's going to be a number of projects. We talk about building new homes and home ownerships across our BIPOC community. We just created a recreational services coordinator position, and that person is going to help people with disabilities and older adults. And so again, bringing the services closer, getting people connected. And we recently just had approximately 45% more children being served in our children's long-term support program. And so that means that more youth in our community who were eligible or needed to get access to services, they are getting that access. So we're increasing that. And then we continued our racial equity training with Ubuntu this year, and that was for all of our staff. So we were able to get a grant, and we provided that training for our staff and for our providers. So a number of initiatives that we're working on continuing to move forward the racial and health equity in Milwaukee County.
That is so awesome. You talk about making sure that people have that that dignity, that respect.
Yeah.
So no matter what service they're going to receive, making a phone call to, they're getting that. Which reminds me of like the no wrong door model of care. And so if you can, please share with residents what folks should know about DHHS's no wrong door model of customer of care. And do you have any examples that you can share of how it's been successful?
Absolutely. So when we say no wrong door, the goal of no wrong door is really to serve people across their lifespan. And to do that with high quality of care that promotes the dignity, regardless of your age or your gender, your social economic status, with services that are tailored to the individual. I remember being on the other side of the table, right, and how that felt. And so making sure, I always promised myself, if I ever got on that other side, I was always going to be committed to making sure that people were treated with dignity and respect. So when we say no wrong door, what it means is that Milwaukee County residents who access one DHHS program or service, they can get connected to all DHHS programs and services, as well as services across the continuum of care, regardless of how they get connected to us, no matter what door they come through. And we've been working, with our department, as well as other county departments, again, to make sure that folks get connected. And so we are hearing stories all the time now about no wrong door and being put into action and helping people connect across the service and programs. And so there's a couple examples I do want to share. And so there was one around youth justice and housing services. So one of our juvenile justice human service workers, she worked with the mom, and they have a 15-year-old son that she supervised. And so called for some housing resources. She was about $3,100 behind on rent and water bill. She has 4 kids and she was pregnant, and she had recently lost her job. And so she had no one to turn to for assistance. So she had a 5-day eviction notice and a court date that was 2 weeks away for this eviction. So the human service worker decided to put the no wrong door policy into action. And so this is one of my favorites. So the supervisor, she connected to Eric Collins-Dyke, and many people know Eric. Eric is our deputy administrator for housing, works really closely with Administrator Matthew. And so she was on the phone speaking with him within about 7 minutes. And he reached out to his contact at Community Advocates, and it took about 10 days and then some follow-up emails for results. But in the end, Community Advocates worker attended the Zoom eviction court hearing with the mom. They paid the $3,100 that was owed through Eviction Prevention Initiative, and she stayed in her home. They also were able to pay 3 months of future rent to help her out of the fight or flight mode into the planning mode, right? And so that sometimes we forget that, like that financial piece, that how do we make sure that this doesn't happen again? So she was able to focus on looking for a job because we had paid the future rent with the age that was able to support her family. And so it took several people working together to help this mom out. I mean, Eric Collins-Dyke, Beth Lappin from Milwaukee County Services, our Community Advocates team, they all made a difference in the future of this family. And that is no wrong door. So when we talk about no wrong door, people think it's just Department of Health and Human Services, it's only county. This is our providers. These are our grassroots people who are on the ground doing this work. And we connect them to say, how do we make sure that we put the services, programs, and we wrap them around again so that person doesn't end back up in that situation. So that is one amazing example that recently happened that very proud of. And then we also have a recent example. This just happened last week where we got an email that our DHHS team, they recently met a customer who was on SSI, and he didn't have any heat and had some physical and mental health barriers. And so we had a number of people, Cleopatra Eccles, Donna Lacaze, and Tim Jackson. They jumped into action, right? They worked really closely with State Decker, La Casa de Esperanza, Energy Assistance, our Aging and Disability Services, and Housing. And they worked together, and they were able to restore his service. And so they all were able to help this man live comfortably in his home right before the holidays. That is the spirit of no wrong door. That is the spirit, no matter where your first point of contact is, that we come together and we wrap services around you to make sure that you get what you need. So those are just 2 examples, and I guarantee you there are so many more that we don't talk about, but we need to begin to spread those messages of how do we get folks connected and how we do that together.
Well, I truly appreciate you and your entire department, because I think you're a shining example of making sure that no one falls through the cracks. No wrong door is about making sure that people are getting the services that they need, but also making sure that we're tailoring these services to their needs as well, which is extremely, extremely important. So I just want to say thank you for your passion and your commitment to this community, to this department, for all the work that you've been doing, but also thank you for joining me, and thank you for leading such an integral part of Milwaukee County. Now, before I close, over the past several months, I've closed with the same question of many different guests, and that is, what is your favorite thing about Milwaukee County? But given that this is the holiday season, I want to be a little bit more specific. So
Sure.
What is your favorite thing to do with your family in Milwaukee County during the holidays?
So family, people know me. I love family, and that's extended family. My friends, I've had friends for 30 years. So we all get together, we get our hot cocoa, we go out, we see all the lights, right? That is fun. And then that first snowfall, we go out to Brown Deer on the big hill and we do sledding with the kids. And it's about 30 of us who get together. So we're looking forward, like the big snowfall. Like those things are so dear to me. So every weekend we will be out looking at holiday lights, right? And we like to sing. We're a singing family. So we sing and we joke and we play. So this is like my favorite time of the year, right? Because it's all about love and family and giving back and community. So yeah,
It's an opportunity to spend a lot more time with our families. So
absolutely. Yeah.
absolutely. So Director Grant, happy holidays to
Happy
you and your
holidays.
family. Thank you again. And thank you to everyone who is tuning in for our holiday special season, if you will, of the Crowley Connect. So thank you again for joining us and see you until the next time.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Bye.